This episode of Idle Thumbs is brought to you by Squarespace, the fastest, easiest, most beautiful way to make your very own professional website, portfolio, blog, or online store. If you go to squarespace.com and enter the offer code THUMBS, you can get 10% off your first purchase.
Want to feel old? It's August 5th. Oh, no, 4th. Shit. Wow, want to feel real old? It's August 5th. Fuck. It's August 4th, 2016.
This is Idle Thumbs 274, right?
Want to feel energized? It's Idle Thumbs.
Wait, it is though, right?
274.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I'm
You
Chris
sound
Rimwell.
old. I'm Nick Breckon.
I'm old. Old man,
Old
Jake
Jake.
Rodkin.
Old
I'm old
Metal
Jake.
Gear
Old
Jake.
Yeah,
Naked Jake. It's a good thing we don't have the cameras set up yet.
yeah.
Want to talk about video games, you guys?
Sure.
Weren't we just?
I was talking about life. I was
Aren't
talking
we
about
just?
reality.
Abzu.
Nick, you've been playing Abzu. This is a game
I
that I don't
played
even think
Abzu.
I'd heard about
Conquered
until...
Abzu.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I only heard about this last week because Spaff said he thought it would be a fun game to stream.
Yeah.
And then Steve said he thought I would like it.
So I didn't see any of that. I feel sort of embarrassed that I didn't know anything about it.
After Journey came out.
So what
and,
is this? Yeah.
After Journey came out, which was the third game by that game company, they made Flow and Flower and Journey. That a lot of that game company teams sort of spread to the winds. Like art director, I think, of Journey started a game studio called Giant Squid.
Giant Squid.
This
Giant
is another
Squid.
thing that I didn't know. I didn't know that they were.
Yeah, the studio has sort of that vintage
Some
of that
shared
game
roots,
company
yeah.
in its roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes
and-
sense, right? Because this is a non-combat exploration game. I take it. I don't know. I
mean-
know so little about it.
It is. And
How do you spell it?
ABZU with an accent on
And
the
it's on
U.
Steam. Is it on a console also?
So, I don't think that it is. I think it's just on Steam right now. I don't know if it's coming to console.
All right. Well, I'll figure that out while you
But
describe.
I found it just on the Steam front page on the Steam store.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, really? Okay.
That's how I
That's
was
the
notified
best
of the
way
existence of this
to
game.
find and play a game.
It was actually it was nice. I was like, oh, this looks interesting. And I
I mean,
clicked
it's
on
not
it, and then I just
intrinsically
sort of
better, but
right.
But it's nice to go in without a bunch of
Yeah.
like when you just sort
I
of
had
see
no
something and you're like,
expectations.
oh, this could be cool, and then you play it,
Mhm.
and it's better than you expected.
Yeah.
That's the best.
I had no expectations actually, you know,
Okay, this
and
game's on PS4 as well.
oh, it is on PS4. Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was made in Unreal, and I loaded it up and I had no expectations whatsoever. It plays a lot like Flower and a lot like Journey.
Yeah.
It is very much in that design vein. It really, I mean, right on down to like it's a game where you mostly just explore and sort of take in breathtaking vistas and interact with kind of interesting sort of nonverbal characters, and then occasionally you unlock a door and then the camera zooms all the way to the door and the door opens and then it zooms all the way back to you, that classic like Flower thing of like showing you exactly what just happened, and that's the whole game. But it's really beautiful. I probably can't really say too much about it without kind of spoiling specific moments that I think probably are best experienced just buying the game and playing it. It's set completely underwater. You play as this sort of scuba diver character, and the sort of main thrust of the game is you kind of the game starts out, you sort of dive down into the water. You have no idea, no context for what you're actually doing, and it just sort of slowly develops a kind of cast of fish characters and other things. Like there's a shark that sort of swims by at the beginning, and you gotta go like, oh, that's that shark. I'm gonna see that shark again. And it's that kind
Limbo
of thing.
style.
Yeah, sort of limbo style. Yeah.
The Chekhov animal.
Yeah, and
Sharks.
Nature's Chekhovs.
yes, and that's they call them that.
Mm-hmm.
And then so the main. First off, the swimming is beautiful. Like the actual animation of it is really fun to play around with. It's interesting because it has the same problem as like a Superman game would have, in the sense that because you're completely unconstrained,
Right.
and it's free movement, the camera sometimes gets a little bit wonky. But at the same time, just like holding down on the stick and watching your guy do a slow motion like somersault in the water and having that like be directly mapped to your analog feels really, really good.
Yeah.
Just basic stuff like, at a certain point you learn, okay, now I can dive down, but I can also just shoot up to the top of the the sort of surface of the water and then break through it and do like an Echo the Dolphin, little jump. Oh man, that stuff's really good because the entire game, like 99% of the game, takes place underwater, but there's always something up above the water, and so you get these little.
So it's not like deep sea.
It is, but then, occasionally you'll pop up, and there will be sort of levels that are set at different levels or varying depths. Yeah. And but yeah, the moments of just like,
what if video game levels were called depths? Think about that.
I mean, that's as fine as boards is. A phrase that I had friends growing up who would refer to video game levels as boards, and I couldn't stand it because it seemed so like quaint to me. Like it was like aggressive. It sounded aggressively old fashioned.
Anyway, some boards take place at different depths.
That for no reason bothered me as a child. I don't know.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Is that from pinball? What is boards?
I don't know. Boards.
Did you guys you never heard that?
No.
I mean, it probably came from
like D&D or something?
Board games. Like you would clear the board and start a new game.
I guess.
Well, I'm thinking of like a D&D level or something that would be like a board that is maybe not.
I always assumed they got it from their parents and it was like a more archaic thing, but I could be wrong.
Huh.
I bet there are games on computers that refer to levels as boards because it's a game that started off as a board game-esque game where you would load up a new board.
Yeah.
Some of the boards are at greater depth and some of the boards are at higher depth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can bust out of the board and do a sweet Echo the Dolphin roll.
It's true.
That's what they're called.
That's what it says on the back of the box.
You can roll out of the board like Echo.
Right.
Remember the Echo 90s ad campaign where Echo was like, roll out of your board, and he was wearing a backwards baseball cap?
Right. And he was on a surfboard.
And he had a skateboarding helmet on top of the baseball hat so the kids knew to be safe.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Knee pads.
He did that Smokey the Bear PSA where he was like surfing and the surf sloshed onto the forest fire and put it out as he was doing like some sick surf moves, and he was like, roll out of your board.
Yeah.
Because only you can do it.
And then at the bottom it said Abzu is available for PlayStation 4. If only kids then knew what games would be like today.
Their heads would explode like the kid in the PlayStation 28 commercial or whatever. Don't you remember there was like
PlayStation 28?
Yeah, there was like I think a PlayStation 2 commercial where it was like in the future, and there was a kid and this like crazy time traveling alien brought him this little sphere, and it was
John
like a PS. Yeah, John Titor brought this kid a PlayStation like 20, and it was a little sphere, and the kid was basically ruined. I think this kid went into like a permanent vegetative state because of the awesomeness of the future PlayStation. I'm probably remembering most of that wrong, but definitely John Titor was there. Anyway, Abzu. He played Abzu on that future PlayStation, and it blew his mind.
Yeah.
He played Abzu 24, though, on his PlayStation 28.
Mm-hmm.
There's one Abzu for every new PlayStation moving forward.
That's when that franchise merged with Echo the Dolphin.
Right.
And you do a sick roll your board, whatever. Anyway, please continue.
No, it may as well. I mean, I don't have too much more to say about it. The sort of one of the main mechanics that develops is that you can, as you swim close to a fish, and there are like, like dozens and dozens of different types of fish in the game, which you would expect. And some of them are sort of, the big fish in the sea. And I just went to the Monterey Aquarium. And so I was actually really interested in looking at what they'd modeled, because they did some really good tech work on this game where they're simulating the kind of feeling of swimming through those huge schools of fish that are constantly going in a circle. If you've ever seen like a deep sea school of fish that's just doing the weird like spiral dance, they have like just crazy moments where you'll just swim through the middle of those, and then some of them will sort of flutter up around you, for a second, and then sort of spiral off, and it's really good. But any of the bigger fish you can grab using like the left trigger, and at that point you can kind of control it or ride it or whatever. But it just essentially means that you are like, now you have the control of that fish, like the
Are
control
you riding
scheme
on
of
its
that
back,
fish.
or are you grabbing its tail like a skateboarder grabs a fender of a car?
Like that. Yes.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Continuing-
You're
Skitching?
Totally.
What is that called?
Was
I learned it from
sketching?
Tony Hawk. Isn't it called that?
I don't know. I like that this game is now somehow about a surfing Echo the Dolphin who also does Tony Hawk moves.
I think I've failed to describe, or maybe I've
so you're saying
accurately
this is like a
described-
really serene and beautiful experience.
right.
Sort of
But
like when you
Abzu
get into a
2
flow state in Tony Hawk 2.
Much like Tony Hawk 2, Abzu
Yeah.
2 will be a completely rad evolution of the. Anyway,
we handed it off to the team that made Sunset Overdrive.
yeah. Jet Set Radio,
Yep.
Abzu. Anyway, yeah, you can grab those fish. You can grab them, and if you grab a dolphin, you're now playing with the dolphin. You can shoot way out of the water, and the control is much tighter and faster and everything.
Wait, so the dolphin shoots out of the water, and then a guy grabbing the dolphin's tail
Also
like,
shoots out of the
flops
water.
around behind him?
Well, you don't flop
It's-
around. I mean, you're not grabbing like the tail. You're grabbing like the dorsal fin or whatever. You know, like you're sort of, it depends on the fish, Chris.
Right.
If you grab that manatee, you're sort of hugging it. You know,
Right.
there's a whole lot of there's a whole a whole system.
It's good that you can hug a manatee.
Yeah, you can. It's actually I really like that. There's
sea
a
cow,
I really
if you
like there's
will.
just a dumb little manatee, and instead of like being a
How do you
fast manatee, it's just you grab it and you actually move slower than you were already swimming, and it's really funny.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really nice.
That's like when you grab the sort of hippie VW van in Tony Hawk.
Right.
So this game is very similar to Tony Hawk in many respects.
I think that's what
I don't actually
learned.
think that's a vehicle that exists in Tony Hawk, but I mean, if it did, that's probably what happened.
Yeah, that's true. I have no more to say about this game other than I think people should play it if you enjoyed Flower and Journey. The thing I would note is that I don't regret playing this game. It was really, it's like 2 hours long, which I think is like a perfect amount of time for this sort of thing. And there were a few moments that were really just stunning. But I will say that it hems so closely to the Flower and Journey mold that by the end, just even looking at kind of the major beats of what occurs, I was kind of half rolling my eyes at a few different times, going like, "Oh, this is the thing from this is the moment from Flowery. Okay, yeah, all right."
So,
but that being said, it's not like I wasn't enjoying it still. It's just I kind of feel like it's so closely following that,
well, so you've actually that answers in part a question I was going to ask you. So, to like sort of for the rest of that question, I guess, does it feel to you that this overall design concept is something that could stand up to repeated use? Because it seems that, both as a player and a game developer, it often feels as though non-combat game designs that are not kind of a particular sort of adventure game, model often feel like they exhaust themselves quickly. And that's not, to me, an argument against them. That's like one of the things that is a challenge as a game designer when you're trying to make games that aren't combat-based, is that it so frequently feels like you have to come up with so many particular pieces of artifice to explain, like, what are your obstacles and what are the things like giving you friction in the experience that aren't combat, and then like what is the reason for it and this and that often it feels as though those things are so specific that when another developer or the same developer does it again, it's like, oh, it just feels so like similar. But maybe that's just because we're trained to expect certain things. I don't know. Does it feel to you like the experience you had where you sometimes found yourself a little too conscious of the echoes back to Flower, the Echo of the Dolphins back to Flower and Journey and so on? Did those feel like, oh, that's because of the shared lineage and the sort of overlap of developers, and maybe they were just using the same tricks too much? Or did it feel like fundamentally this formula is something that is prone to that?
I think it's prone to that because I think it is obviously derived out of that problem of we want to make a non-combat exploration game, but at a certain point, unless we put some kind of gate on a door, what else are we going to have the player do? We can't create 4 hours of this content. All we can do is create 2 hours of this content, so we need to just kill some time because people won't be happy if it's 40 minutes, Like, it felt like I thought the game was going to end at like 40 minutes in, and I was kind of okay with that. It really felt like I'd sort of seen all of the new tricks in the bag, and then a few puzzles where there's a chain on the door and I have to follow the chain. And when I get to the end of the chain, there's a thing and I hit X and then it opens the chain and shows me that the door opened and that was it. And there was nothing enjoyable between A and B. And so I feel like if they had done that maybe even one or two more times in the game, it just barely squeaked through for me, you know, where it just felt like, okay, if this had been even a little bit more laborious, I would have been unhappy.
If you knew that at the end of every long hallway was a chain you had to follow in a random direction.
I was starting to get that itch. I was like, oh man, if they're just, if this just turns into a chain game.
Yeah, you get to the like cross intersection with 3 chains going off in the distance. And
there was that moment, and then that was it, I think. Okay. And if they had really just blown it out into that, I would have been really unhappy. I think, I really enjoyed the game, so I can't fault it for following that formula. I think to answer your question, it does stand up as long as they're just conscious of kind of where your head is at within that. I do wish that at this point, when the camera is shooting down a tunnel and showing me a door, I could hit a button and it would just skip that stupid thing, you know. And I just feel like there are a few things that would actually just make that, as somebody who's played a lot of these games, more enjoyable. I understand why they're doing it for people who haven't played Journey or whatever. They need to understand how these like very simple things work. But for people who have already played it, I feel like there's still some tweaks that they could throw in there that would at least cut through that. And I really don't fault the formula as a whole, because I do really enjoy these games. And also the soundtrack is fantastic because it's Austin Wintory and it's
Can't
just
go wrong.
Yeah. So I don't know. I really enjoy the game.
Here's a hypothesis that as with everything that I say on this podcast is not, I haven't thought this through beyond thinking about it a second ago, but I wonder if because the problem I described, in game development, where you're trying to figure out how to prolong an experience that doesn't have the fairly natural friction provided by combat or some other sort of like physical conflict, or puzzle solving or what have you, like sort of puzzle solving. I wonder if the challenge in prolonging those experiences beyond, a few hours might simply be pointing to some kind of like overall truth is way too strong to put it, but some like general dynamic that maybe that's just about the amount of time that's a reasonable amount of time to spend telling some kind of story without wearing out its welcome and being too long. And maybe that's why movies generally last that long. And like
when I looked at the clock and I saw that I had spent about 2 hours on this game, and as I was playing it these games to me always feel a bit like animated features, and just sort of the pacing of everything and kind of just the sort of expressiveness and everything. And I felt like, if this thing had been about 90 minutes or 100 minutes, which is sort of the average running time of like a Disney film, I would have been really, really happy. And I kind of agree that at this point it just feels like maybe that's a game like this. Maybe that is the right sort of amount of time to be spending on that kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah.
And of course, there's a big wrench in that theory, which is the increasing success of serialized television, which tells a consistent, beginning to end story over now, like anywhere from 6 to 20 hours in a given season. But I think that stuff is often quite repetitive as well. And
that stuff is also way more about a rhythm and about a bunch of endpoints that then loop around into a bigger thing, which is whereas games like this seem way more interested in trying to create one continuous never-ending sort of like
that's true.
I mean, especially the That Game Company games in particular are like about like just trying to get you into a weird narrative flow state the entire
erasing
time.
Any breaks.
It's all about the flow, and the music really carries you through that. It's a game that should be played in one sitting. And I think if this game had been stretched to the extent where you had to play it in a couple of sittings, it would have just fallen apart. It just would have turned into something weird.
We're gonna binge
like
watch the entire That Game Company and all and all progeny in one sitting.
Yeah.
We won't sleep until we complete all of the games.
All of these relaxing meditative adventures, we're gonna slam them down. Roll off your board.
I feel like you started this episode by secretly telling the audience you were going to say "roll off the board" as many times as you could.
I know.
Yeah.
Slide boots move. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, it's a good game.
Well, cool. You played RimWorld. You've probably gotten deeper into RimWorld than I have in a way.
Perhaps
because you're playing it alone.
That's true.
Well, I have so much, having played RimWorld on a stream now for like 2 weeks, I have so much more sympathy for you. When we stream together, you're usually the one playing the game most of the time, and I have so much more sympathy for all of your lost information and things you don't notice in the game.
So you've got a few experts in that chat telling you exactly
which is helpful.
It is helpful.
I totally appreciate it, but I'm also realizing that, like, I assume you would feel the same way. My attention is basically split 3 different ways, which is like the game itself, the chat, and then my own stream of consciousness, like monologue,
having
to keep it from
talking.
being empty, dead air. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't want to talk about streaming as much as I want to talk about your actual experience with RimWorld, because you haven't talked about it, and I haven't seen you play it other than the one screenshot you posted of your base, which looked really impressive.
I have a better one now. By the way,
I'm sure you do.
Yeah. No, this game is really fucking good. It's interesting. So I think that I probably played a little more Prison Architect than you guys did, simply because
I'm sure that's true.
I was also kind of bummed out by the theme of that game, but I was so fascinated by the mechanics that I kind of just swallowed it for a little bit. I'm really glad this game exists, because I think it's doing so much more than Prison Architect in many different ways, and also just is also doing some of those same things, and it's just like scratching that itch for me in a big way. Man, so I have a question for you, actually, really quickly. Like, what difficulty are you playing this game on? Like, what have you been sort of running with in your?
So my first game was on the easiest possible combination, which is, I think, Phoebe, Chillax. So they're the 3 different AI kind of settings. One of them is the super chill one. One of them is the classic peaks and valleys, and then one of them is completely random without any guidance. And my first game was the chill one, and then the difficulty setting on top of that was the easiest one of those, which is free roam. So I just did the easiest possible thing, because I'm like, I don't want to have to worry about combat. I don't like fighting in these games. I still don't, for what it's worth. I just want to. I just like building the stuff, managing the social and economic aspects. So I did that combination. My second game was a catastrophe and was over in one stream. So I think whatever. My third game, which is the one I'm doing now, and it's my long haul base, which is Video Jamestown.
Yes,
a great name suggested by someone in chat.
Very, very good.
Strong.
I think suggested by Jones, Ice Cream from chat. Anyway, that is being played on Cassandra Classic, the sort of just classic up and down AI, which I think was the first one that went into the game. I could be wrong. And the base builder difficulty, which is a notch up from what I was playing before.
So I started playing this game on Cassandra Challenging.
Okay.
So I just fucking went into the middle of the maw.
Yeah.
And I think
I can imagine doing that if I didn't start on a stream.
Yeah, I would imagine that as well. I think if I had started streaming this game, I would have been a little more timid, but I just fucking went for it. So are you also sub question? Are you playing on the Iron Man setting, or like the? I
don't even notice. I don't think I noticed what that is.
Like the permadeath thing. So you can't save. You can only.
I've never reloaded a save anyway, so I might as well be. I mean, I'm not technically, but on a stream I wouldn't. Please.
So yeah, I have just fucking gone for it, and I will say that. At this point, I actually think I burned through the challenge of that mode, and
which mode
of just sort of the classic mode and the classic setup. So I started off playing with the standard setup, which is 3 settlers, and the importance of the early character generation.
Oh yeah,
that can't be overstated, because first of all, I didn't even realize like what any of the game was when I first started playing. I'm just, I guess you just have some characters and there's like settlers or something. I don't know what the hell. Oh man.
Yeah, their stats are very important.
Oh yeah. Especially
because some people are physically incapable of performing certain tasks. My first game, like half of my people were incapable of hauling things. Like they couldn't. They would refuse to just move things.
I don't
from
have any
one
tolerance
place
for
to
that
another.
anymore.
I don't either. No. I don't either.
I just
Those people are
euthanize.
out.
Just harvest their organs and go and move on.
I haven't harvested any organs.
Yeah, well, you haven't hit the real metagame, Chris.
Yeah.
No, I mean I've actually played a couple of rounds of this, so I'm trying to pull out like any specific stories that I might have, but like
You have a large graveyard, or at least you did in the...
Oh man, I had Arlington Cemetery just going up next door to me. It was gross. I actually just hit a rut where I didn't have anybody who could research, and so because of that, I couldn't get the crematorium tech, which means that
I don't have that either.
Oh, okay. Well, that means you can just build a furnace. Then people will just automatically throw bodies into the
graveyard,
furnace.
Though. I like building sarcophagi for my... Dude, I think one of the differences between when I'm playing on a stream is that part of what I'm playing for is like drama and sort of like symbolic gestures, you know what I mean? Because people are watching it. So like I'll build, instead of regular graves, I'll build elaborate artistic sarcophagi for notable, like my original settlers who have died all have... And in fact, that pays off because at one point, so Danielle has been... Nick and Danielle have both been among... Nick Goldblum Breckon and Danielle Junior Minch Riendo have each been part of my original crew in all three of my games. And Danielle, sadly, in my current game, died a while ago.
Oh, man.
What was crazy, though, is that, like...
They ate her corpse.
No, so I built a sarcophagus and put her in it.
Yeah.
Also, the sarcophagus was amazing. Oh, no, that sarcophagus... Well, there's a different sarcophagus that was amazing that I'll tell you about. But this guy wanders in from, like, off the side of the world, like, months later, and joins my settlement. He comes to join my settlement. I'm like, okay, great. And then the first thing I noticed, like, oh, my God, his name's Riendo. Like, who the hell is this guy? He is the husband. He is Danielle's widower.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, he will just wander out of the base and go visit her sarcophagus and just hang out there for a while. It's the craziest shit. I mean, like it's such a simple little thing, but it's like the first time I noticed he was just standing there, like holy shit! It's that. I don't know. Like this game does some really powerful things.
It's actually really, really interesting. I had a woman who was my cook. And she was like 62. Oh, by the way, so there's a funny quirk that I realized. I was character genning my group, the first three dudes, and you know, they can auto gen sort of the relationships, right? So like if you hit randomize, it'll often say like, oh, this person's the daughter of this person, which is really cool. I had that happen to me, and the husband, or not the husband, the dad. Of this woman was like 66, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and I clicked on her, and she was 69, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is an interesting... In the
fiction of this game, that actually completely makes sense.
It totally makes sense, right? You've just...
Is that because there's a bunch of FTL travel or something?
Yeah, there's both cryosleep and there's faster than light travel, and so all characters have both a biological age and a chronological age. Yeah. And sometimes their chronological age is like 800 years old.
Oh, that rules. So like in this case... Dad was in cryosleep longer, or traveling, doing more hyperspace travel.
Yeah,
hilarious. Good.
Yeah.
God damn it.
There's some really good stuff. Yeah, I had this woman that was sort of my cook. I just sort of checked off all the other things that she could possibly do, and I was like, no, you're the cook. You're just doing it. And she was really unhappy for like 4 or 5 years just being the cook. And I don't blame her. I mean, it's like a really...
4 or 5 years, wow.
Yeah, it's like a really boring job in this game to just like take the corn out of the thing and put it on the table and like do the thing. And like my cook room was shitty, so she was upset that the room was shitty.
Room, your kitchen?
The kitchen.
Nick Breckon?
Well, it's not a kitchen so much as like a...
It's a cook room.
It's a cook room. And there's a butcher table.
Is that what you call your crematorium?
This is meth den.
Yes. No, that's my whole colony. So there's a butcher table there too, which means that every time she butchers an animal, it makes the floor bloody. Right. So that place was always just a mess. Like she was just living in the worst, shittiest area of my entire base. Yeah. And so she did that like for 4 or 5 years and was really unhappy. And then she met this guy. And they started developing a relationship, and I was so happy for her. I was like, "Oh, you did it!" I think her name was Hoon, and I was like, "Yeah, Hoon, you made it. You got this guy. I'm gonna build your royal bed here in the corner.
Right.
I'm gonna give you a big room with carpet.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just go all out. I'm
Love
carpeting
carpet.
your room. Oh, this is just your life. You're on the up and up. I'm gonna pay you back, Hoon.
Right.
This is gonna be fantastic."
Yeah.
And then that guy ate shit in like a day. Like they had their honeymoon, and the honeymoon period lasts for like 2 weeks.
Right.
And he died on like the day one of the honeymoon.
No.
And I was so sad. And so, what's funny about it is that like in the status effects, she gets the honeymoon bonus still. It doesn't go away.
Right.
But then underneath that, it says like, my husband died and I'm really unhappy.
Yeah.
So there was this like balancing effect going on where she was like,
she's
well,
just
I'm on
neutral.
vacation.
Right. Yeah.
But, and then I realized that like, because everybody else in the base was so busy, he had died in bed from like a disease or something, that like nobody had hauled away his body. And so she was just sleeping every night in bed with her dead husband on her honeymoon. Her honeymoon was like sleeping with the corpse of her husband.
That's why she's still neutral. It's because she's in mental shock. She's basically in mental shock.
Right, yeah, that's true.
She hasn't quite
She's
fully
whispering to the
picked up on what has gone on here.
So finally they get rid of him and she just loses it and just like goes insane. And what I realized is that, and this is total error on my part, I picked the one pyromaniac in my group to be the cook. And so
To replace her, or she is one?
No, she is one.
Wow.
She
went
was
5 years without...
Yeah, she never lit a fire. Wow. And I had never like noticed that she
Danielle's
was a
mom was
pyromaniac.
a pyromaniac in my first game, and she was constantly lighting things up.
Oh yeah, Hoon was so good about it, and then her husband died, and then once the honeymoon ran out,
oh man,
she was just lighting it up, and so I arrested her and threw her in prison.
Right.
And then she just started like going berserk in prison and just like bashing down the walls. And every time she'd bash down a wall, I had to like have a guy go and just knock her out. And that went on for so long because I just really didn't.
That cycle is brutal.
And I felt so bad. I didn't want to like kill who. Like she didn't deserve any of this. Like I'm the reason that all of this happened. Her whole shitty life was generated by my decision to just stick her in a room and make her cook for me. And I was just like, I can't do this. And then eventually, like, of course, just one of the guys that had to like wake up in the middle of the night. I mean, there was just the same guy whose job it was to just go knock her out in the middle of the night and put her back to bed and like bandage her up. And of course, he accidentally kills her at one point. And I was just like, oh my God, this is such a shitty story that's been generated. I've had so many weird, shitty stories like that happen to me. Like my first dog, in the very first game I played, my first dog got both of its legs ripped off.
Whoa!
And so it was just
both of its legs.
No, all
Dogs have
three.
four.
Sorry. Well.
All three. It's
No,
a
no.
space dog.
Well, whatever. I'm literally talking about like its ability to walk. I think they can walk with two. But then all the three legs that it needs to walk were gone. So it had one leg and was stuck in bed.
Oh no!
Somehow this happened where it had enough. I guess somebody hauled it back to its bed.
Right.
After this happened, and then I had a guy save its life, but then it was just stuck in bed forever.
Right.
And like I didn't know what to do because I think at that point I didn't realize you could operate on people and pets and things and give them peg legs and stuff.
Right.
And so I just kept
you could have had a
feeding
3 peg leg dog if
I
you
know.
played this right.
I screwed up. But I just kept feeding it for years. and so
basically your base's mascot.
Yeah, it was. It was like, oh man, it was just this little dog. And like when people would feed it, it would get really happy in its bed and just sort of squirm around.
Right.
And that's all I could do. Right. And like, people would just go and visit and like, talk to the dog. And like if there was like a raid going on, people would hide with the dog.
Was it bonded to one of the people in your base?
It was.
Did it have a master?
Yeah. And so I've just had these weird stories of just like longevity, but just horrible, tragic longevity. Like it's really good. It's really strange, but it's really, really good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Now I'm breeding elephants. That's my.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten into the whole animal. I'm into the animal game now. I had
every turn in the path of this is hilarious.
I bred one emu. I have a pet emu that I raised from an
those
egg.
are good.
Did you name it?
I don't think you can. I don't think you can rename animals. Can you?
I think you can.
Are emus
really?
from eggs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, emus grow out of an egg.
I don't know what an emu is.
Like
an emu's a
ostriches.
bird.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, duh. Of course it's a bird.
Yeah, I had a whole family of
An emu
Does a bird come from an egg?
An emu is a former dinosaur. It comes out of an egg.
So you're saying RimWorld is like Jurassic Park?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, and it is a just chaos theory, and life finds a way, and whatever else. And like dogs have no legs.
It's true. Dogs have a leg.
All 3 of their legs have been removed. All 3 of this dog's legs have been removed.
All right, you guys want to take a break?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you tried the setup where it's just one guy?
No, the Rich Explorer. I really want to.
I'm playing as Rich Explorer.
Oh, nice.
And Cool Explorer. Cool Explorer showed up very, very soon afterwards.
Oh yeah.
But that is fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Like I'm playing that one on challenging, and you start with turrets. So
crazy! So you can instantly set up a compound.
You can instantly set up like a very small compound, but that's like it. So it's just 4 walls and a turret outside.
God, you've got to just really nail the random generation on that one guy, huh?
Well, yeah, and
they've got to be able to do everything.
Yeah, basically. And I did it in the tropical jungle too, which was like an extra challenge because you immediately have to just start building coolers like fucking crazy. That's my new like.
Yeah, I'm excited to try that one.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Okay, now real break.
Oh, okay. Video game. God, the end game of that game is fucking nuts. Like, have you gotten to the mechanoid like?
You guys just talk about it next week. Stop
invasions and shit.
No. Yes, and I died. I completely died.
Oh man.
Yes.
I got into this crazy fucking thing where it's like, what? I'm just talking.
All right, break.
All right.
Video game. This episode of Idle Thumbs is brought to you by Casper. Casper manufactures obsessively engineered mattresses at a shockingly fair price. They make them right here in America and send them to you in a tiny box. The most American way to send you something because it explodes out of the box in a really amusing display of mattress power. Casper mattresses are only $500 for a twin-size mattress, $950 for a king, and then sort of appropriately spaced in between. But here's the thing. If you go... I'm about to tell you what the thing is, Nick Breckon.
What is it?
The thing is that if you go to Casper.com...
Whoa.
Yeah. Casper.com/thumbs.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. And use the offer code thumbs.
Okay. Got it.
You will get $50 towards any mattress purchase.
That's a lot of money.
It is $50 towards any mattress on the site.
For a lot of mattress.
It's true. They also sell an adaptive pillow.
Whoa.
I am thinking of going on there and buying that adaptive pillow because I have slept on a Casper mattress, but I have not slept on a Casper adaptive pillow, and that is exciting to me. They've also got bed sheets. They've got all the things you need.
Is it an adaptive bed sheet?
I think it's just a nice bed sheet.
Just a nice bed sheet. Okay, that's fine.
You will adapt to the niceness of these bed sheets quickly. So go to Casper.com/thumbs, use the promo code thumbs, get $50 towards any mattress purchase. They're already priced well. This makes it even better. And they got all kinds of other bed stuff for you. Casper.com/thumbs with the promo code thumbs. Thanks, Casper. Video games. This episode of Idle Thumbs is also brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the fastest, easiest, most user-friendly, and beautiful way to make your very own website, portfolio, blog, or online store. I have used it to make websites before. It is incredibly straightforward. You drag and drop elements on the page. Essentially, it's sort of a what you see is what you get editor. You can just browse the site in real time as you add stuff to it, put it live whenever you want. You can get started without a credit card so you can, try for yourself and make sure it's what you want. If you go to squarespace.com, you can sign up for that account. And then when you check out, use the promo code thumbs for 10% off. Yeah, 10% off your first order when you are ready to settle up. And here's the thing. Here's the other thing. This is the thing that is important to tell you. Yeah, if you sign up for a year, you will get a free domain name thrown in there as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So you basically get everything you need to have the entire website designed and published
under your control.
Under your control. Yes, it is amazing how sort of far-reaching these tools are. I've started to notice a lot of sites made with Squarespace recently, just sort of browsing around the internet, not looking for that in particular, but just, being familiar with Squarespace and seeing that. They also, here's the thing, I don't think I've mentioned this before, but it is nice. Squarespace has 24/7 customer support. It's a pretty easy to use service, but if you do need help or clarification on anything, they have people 24/7 ready to help you out to make your website with your wacky domain.
Please get the wackiest domain possible.
Yeah. I mean, you owe it to yourself. Squarespace.com with the promo code thumbs. Thanks, Squarespace.
Do you think that .balloon is a top-level domain that you can get at this point? That seems like that would be a fun one.
I don't know. I mean...
Like chrisramo.balloon, like with just some happy pictures of you. I don't think it is. So work on that, I can, so that I can open up a Squarespace webpage.
I don't think it is, Jake, but...
it just seems like it'd
one
be a fun
day.
one.
I mean, I think eventually that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the writing's on the wall. The writing's on the balloon written in a Sharpie. Made a lot of squeaking.
Okay.
Thanks, Squarespace.
You're welcome.
Happy birthday, .balloon.
That would go instantly.
Yeah, sad.balloon. Just kids with deflated balloons. Hopefully bad.balloon.
Bad.balloon and sad.balloon?
Yeah. They're very different, though. Bad balloon is like shitty Mylar birthday balloons, and sad balloons is like kids holding the helium balloon that's just like neutrally buoyant and like floating sort of near their waist.
Yeah.
Those are my two Squarespace image blogs.
And then there's dad.balloon.
Some cross posts between both of those blogs.
Sad dad balloon.
Sounds like a weird saying.
Sad dad balloons is probably like sad, all the hallmarks of sad balloons, but with a dad trying to like encourage, like,
Right.
No, it's still fun. Trying to like come up with a thin reason why it's cool that the balloon is not fun.
Look at the sunglasses on that bear.
Are we back?
Oh, yes.
Whoa.
Jake, you've played hours and hours of Headlander.
I've been landing heads for hours. You and Spaff talked about Headlander a bit last week, and I'd been meaning to play it, and I did. A thing that you talked about a little bit, but I had not fully internalized in my understanding of Headlander, is how little jumping is involved inside of this game.
How little jumping?
There's literally no jump. I mean, your head can fly around, but it's the thing that's keeping me in Headlander, I think, is that it is a game that has this huge sprawling Metroidvania structure. Like, its map just looks like it could be a map to any classic Metroid or Castlevania game,
right?
But none of the actual traversal and none of the puzzle solving and none of the combat works remotely like any of those games because of the fact that you're stuck on the ground the entire time. And seeing what the team has done to build out a game of this scope, which is, not Super Metroid length from what I can tell, but still, like, I'm 5 hours in and I suspect that I have another hour or so of the game.
It's pretty chunky.
It ends up resulting in everything feeling like a puzzle in a way that I like. Like, there's obviously a ton of combat in this game. A ton of this game is based around when you get inside of the body of a security guard, you have a laser gun and your lasers shoot. But the fact that the lasers are all bounce based is interesting. I think you talked about this last week, but you can get in a red, orange, yellow, green, blue, or purple soldier, and that's the rainbow is the clearance level, so you can get into like if you're a purple guy, you can get into every door, whereas if you're a red guy, you can only get into red doors, and then there's in between. But also their lasers are more powerful, and they get an additional bounce off of a wall. So the more also, you get enemies with increasingly weird spreads where you have the later security guards. They're still the single laser guys, but you'll also end up with characters that shoot like 5 radiant lasers at a time, or characters whose lasers shoot in these sort of prismatic geometric patterns. And it all ends up resulting in... I mean, honestly, it ends up resulting in a chaotic mess a lot of the time, but there are moments where it ends up getting incredibly focused and you feel like you're sort of using the layout of the space plus these weapons to solve things. I don't know. It's just I was not expecting the actual moment to moment stuff to feel as different from usual Metroidvania stuff as
it
this
is very different.
And then that contrasted with when you pop your head off of a guy and fly it around, which I guess is kind of kind of maps to like the ball mode in Metroid Prime or something almost, where you suddenly find yourself off isolated in the world. The fact that you're just like a little free-floating asteroids spaceship, again, makes it feel different than like there's if you fall off of an edge as a civilian or a soldier, obviously you fall down to the ground. But other than that one thing, gravity has nothing to do with Headlander, which is really cool. Like the lasers, the projectiles are all laser based, and your characters all just move laterally, and then your head can just stay suspended in air. So like it just all of the actual problems that you're solving are new, even though the structure of it is familiar, and that's like it's holding me. That's
a good
strong.
point. You're totally right about gravity playing no part in this game, which is just unusual for a game that looks and is structured like this. Otherwise, also a thing that occurred to me when Nick, you were describing sort of how much mileage you get just out of sort of flipping your character around in Abzu and just the feel and look of the movement. That's definitely something that is not as central to Headlander as in that game, obviously, but just the feeling of sort of guiding the head around in space and watching the sort of jet trail behind it and sort of looping around when you're just going through like a boring hallway where it's just like, okay, I'm literally just in a Metroid way, just backtracking to get to this point, but I'm just going to kind of like goof around with the head. It's just that kind of thing is nice when it feels tuned well and looks cool and
it's nice. That mode switch between being inside of a body and it being all about like jumping between teleporters to try and navigate the space. Like because you can't jump, a lot of the level ends up becoming almost estranged. It becomes a maze, and it ends up feeling almost like the old like. I mean, honestly, it actually kind of feels like. Oh man, I just forgot the name of it. Well, like old elevator action games or Tom Francis's game. Gunpoint. Yeah. Like Gunpoint has jumping in it, but Gunpoint also has a lot of like you're using elevators and stairs to get up and down levels, and then you're watching what guards do and doing strange things to make them die. But you know, Headlander also, like I said, devolves into, okay, I don't actually know what I'm supposed to do in this situation, so I'm just going to become a flying head and vacuum people's heads off until I get to where I need to go.
Right.
But and it also had one very extended sequence where I had to unlock like what seemed like 30 different elevators to unlock one bigger elevator, which was the slowest point in the entire game. But yeah. Also, as we talked about last week, every single thing in this game just looks good.
Yep.
Like when you are that stupid head flying around, even just like I've upgraded my head thrust power up a zillion times, and now like the jet trail seems like the flame is really big and looks really good, and also like it leaves a lingering smoke trail behind that almost looks like cigarette smoke, which maybe I'm assuming is just because every single thing in this game is, despite being like incredibly polished 60s looking stuff, everything also feels slightly dirty and lascivious. So like the fact that your character leaves what looks like just a cigarette smoke trail behind him, I enjoy very much. But the way that like even just that stuff sort of swirls around in your wake is good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's an incredibly high attention to visual detail in this game.
Yeah.
Yep. As you'd expect from a Lee Petty.
Oh, there have been there's stuff in this that I don't want to give away, but there have been some surprising moments with music in this game. There's some stuff in there that's really good. There's one moment that I want to talk about for half a second that I really enjoyed, which is I got drafted into some sort of robot resistance, and this is like you've been on this like crazy leveling chain, and this is a total Double Fine thing, but the robot resistance, I guess, doesn't have any robot bodies to spare because they are robots. So they give you the only one they could find. It's just the shittiest, dumpiest, like, it's like everything else is like 60s, 70s, 80s sci-fi, and they just give you this fucking shitty, rusted out 50s robot on roller skates that can just like do this like jaunty,
like in space.
Yeah, it could just do like a happy like Santa Claus walk, or it looks like it does like the haters gonna hate walk while roller skating around, and you're just fucking stuck in that after like, it's really good. You have this just epic shit, and then the game goes, okay, hitting the hard load screen, and anyway, welcome to this roller skating, like whistling haters gonna hate guy. I don't know, like it it has things like that I like out of a Double Fine game, in addition to interesting mechanics that for me haven't worn out their welcome, and it's really nice. That's all.
Cool.
That's all I have to say about that.
Headlander.
Also, obviously, this is not going to be a game to everyone's tastes, but
Well, what is?
Far
Cry 2.
Minecraft. Mario.
All right, well.
Oh, also the shag carpet effect in this game is like the best that I've ever seen. That's all.
You sold me.
It's got real good. Like,
I
there's
was
some shag
undecided
carpet
up to there, but
floors.
then I
Oh,
realized
man.
it's a game for me.
Reactive
my
reactive shag carpet floors in your Metroidvania. Very strong.
Yeah, that actually does sound really good.
Nice.
So what else is going on in the world of video games? I mean, I feel like we've talked about the 3 video games that are out.
I don't know. I mean, we could do reader mail.
Yeah, that seems good.
Sure.
Let's do that. All right. Let's see. So we have pretty good, lots of mail actually.
We have a couple good emails.
Yeah, I had to upgrade my appraisal of how much mail we have. All right. Michaela Walker says, "Hey, Thumbs. I'm currently listening to this week's podcast, and the comment about your collusion and sneaky biases, I'm kidding, don't worry, in the video game world got me thinking. I would love to hear conversations with developers that you know and love on your podcast. Maybe that would be a separate podcast or something. But one of the aspects of Idle Thumbs that makes it so special is everyone's intimate knowledge of development in the worlds of both AAA and indie games, and I'd really love to hear you guys interview other developers and such about making games. Anyway, I love you sneaky boots colluders, and the views you put forth on your pods, Michaela."
There
I
are
think
2
this
podcasts.
reader, I think she,
2, you say? 2?
Well,
have I got news for you,
3.
everyone? On idlethumbs.net, the Idle Thumbs podcast network, we have not 1, but 2, but not 1, not 2, but 3 podcasts with developers interviewing each other, and they are all real good. I mean, we have 3 of them because they've all ended over time, but there's a huge library of these. If you go to idlethumbs.net/shows, you can look around for the most recent one, Playscape Los Angeles, which was hosted by Teddy Deef, who worked on Hyperlight Drifter, and he also worked with Brendan Chung on that Fitzpackerton Game Jam game that we talked about. He interviewed a bunch of game developers and also just sort of games culture people in general in the Los Angeles area over this last year as Hyperlight Drifter was finishing up. It's great. There's an ongoing game developer podcast that we host called Designer Notes, which is hosted either by Soren Johnson, who worked on Civ 4 and Off-World Trading Company, and also sometimes hosted by Adam Saltzman of Finji Games. He made Cannibalt. He's working on Overland, and they've interviewed a ton of game developers in sort of just long-form discussions of their careers and of their design philosophies. And then Steve Gaynor, occasionally of Idle Thumbs and also of BioShock 2 and Gone Home and Tacoma, did a podcast called Tone Control, where he interviewed a ton of game designers as well. So all these shows range from talking to indie folks all the way to like interviewing people like Ken Levine and Tim Schafer and people who had hands in the creation of Warcraft and stuff like that. So like it's
Yeah. Hopefully this is hopefully that's the kind of thing this reader is looking for. I think she will find a huge trove of this exact kind of thing on our website.
Yep.
We mention all the time that we have other podcasts on our website, but it may get sort of just lost in the shuffle. That is like, we do have a massive library of this stuff at this point. It's kind of
it's not the 3 of us doing any of the interviews, but all of the hosts do a great job with this stuff.
Yes,
It's good shows.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They're all developers and all good at talking.
So it's like all collusion all the time, if that's also what you were wanting to look for, but you had to sort of play it off as a joke in the email, but it's secretly what you want. Listen to developers collude discreetly.
Okay, so let's see.
Collude with me, my lord.
Samantha Fuller writes, "Hi, I desire a Coldblum. I have a question. Can a Coldblum be used over a cup of hot coffee to protect my hands from the heat? I'm not asking if it can keep my drink hot, just if it will prevent the cup from singeing my hands. If not, I would still love to purchase the Coldblum for all my cold beverages and phone charging station needs whenever it is they come back in stock. Sincerely, Summarily, Samantha Fuller. P.S. I've been listening since the start of Idle Thumbs, and I've been a big fan of your show and your Twitch streams. Thanks for the work you do to keep the show going. Anyway, she goes on. That's very kind.
Yes.
Really? You think that thing would fit over a coffee mug?
I mean, I don't think it would fit over a mug. I think it would fit over like
it would fit over like a crappy paper cup.
If you have like a paper cup from like a Starbucks style cup, I'm sure the Coldblum would happily insulate your hand from that. It will not fit over a mug. You'd need a sort of a smaller, thinner mug. Mm-hmm. Also, Chris, I've noticed the through line here in these emails that you've chosen to read from readers. Dear Idle Thumbs, I'm really interested in hearing you talk about your own products on this podcast. Could you please promote your other shows and merchandise? Speaking of which, we were running out of Coldblums, but the new shipment has arrived. So in the very near future, the store will be restocked again.
Yeah, hopefully within a week.
Yep.
Within days. But I bet by the next time we record this podcast, Coldblums will
be all the way back. So just check it out. Look at those Coldblums. Mm-hmm. idlethumbs.net. That's us.
Store.idlethumbs.net. Okay, let's see.
Chris Ramo writes, have you heard about Idle Weekend hosted by Rob Zachney and Danielle Riando?
Ron Crawford writes, hey Thumbs, your ARG talk on a recent cast jogged my memory, and I was curious if any of you remembered or played the game Majestic from the early 2000s. It was a weird experimental game that interacted with the player through top-of-the-line technology of the time, like BlackBerry messages, faxes, and AOL Instant Messenger. I was interested at the time, but as I was under 18 when it released, I had a feeling my parents might take issue with the computer game calling our home phone at all hours of the night. Thanks for all the casts, Ron. P.S. I'm also hoping this gets read, as it will put my total emails being read on the cast to 3, which I assume enters me into some sort of legendary status in the community or something. I eagerly await my prize. I thought that said I eagerly await my pizza, but then I realized my brain is bad.
You get a pizza prize.
Expecting a pizza party like you used to have,
Yeah.
Sometimes in elementary school.
Like when you read party. 5 books, you get a pizza.
Yeah.
Oh man, if Idle Thumbs Reader Mail also got a license from the Book It program where you get a little personal pan pizza.
Yeah.
If only. I mean, we could start that. Captain Invictus would have like 5 pizzas.
Yeah.
All of which he somehow would have sold through the Steam economy for $30,000 a piece or something. Rare Idle Thumbs. Unusual pepperoni pizza.
Unique mushroom pizza. All right.
What was the question?
Oh, right, Majestic. Sorry, I forgot about the actual thing. Yeah, I remember when this was around.
I remember when it was out. I didn't play it. I feel like Majestic, I'm sure this has been talked about and debunked or true, but it feels to me like Majestic and sort of the rise of ARGs came from the David Fincher movie, The Game. Like, I feel like all of the press around Majestic was, it's like the thing that happens to Michael Douglas in The Game, where you can have an expensive game that messes with your life, which now that sort of shit seems available all around San Francisco for indulgent rich people. So The Game came true after all. But I remember being so enamored with The Game in high school that when I read reviews of what Majestic actually was, it seemed so underwhelming to me that I didn't ever do it. Plus, I don't know if I was entirely old enough. I didn't own a fax machine and stuff, which was the other thing, where I was like, I just have email. I didn't have a cell phone. My phone was my modem, so I didn't do it. So that's what I'm old.
That sounded. My phone was my modem.
What I mean is, I couldn't receive a cool phone call at the same time as I was receiving an instant message on Instant Messenger because they were the same.
Right.
So
apparently, all phone calls in this game began with the canned note, "This is a call from the video game Majestic," which kind of dampens the coolness of it. Yeah, I guess that's what happens when a company like EA makes a thing like this, because they probably have lawyers saying you can't.
What would be rad?
Defraud people or something.
What would be rad if someone. So Majestic at the time was like, your life is invaded, your BlackBerry, your fax machine. What would be fucking awesome now is if someone said, okay, we're bringing back Majestic, and it's going to come in the Steel Battalion box, and what you're going to get is a fax machine with a USB adapter. You're going to get a fucking BlackBerry that is just only has the Majestic OS on it. You're going to fucking strap in to a 90s life. You're going to just set up your
CB
house.
radio.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh man, just make all of the trash. that is required for this game, like basically Guitar Hero controller fax machines and Blackberries and stuff.
Right, yeah. You could make a landline telephone that actually just connects to Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
receives phone calls
Right.
from your normal internet connection.
Yeah, you get a rotary handset and like a modem coupler and stuff,
Yeah.
but it's just like, okay, just so you know, you're
It
entering
just
into
plugs
this.
into a normal house,
Yeah.
but it's going to be crazy.
But the you pick up the receiver and set it on the phone coupler, and then an RFID connection tells your USB tells Windows 10 that they're touching each other, and then it'll play a sound effect that sounds like a modem. If it is disconnected, it's okay. It'll still work. Yeah,
Disneyland would do that if there was some kind of 90s ride.
Yeah.
That they
Oh,
could,
man.
they could
Oh,
create a
man.
weird
that's
ghost
the
post.
Kickstarter to bring
It's
back
just-
Majestic. That's the stretch goals. Is we will make a USB fax machine and
Yeah.
a USB BlackBerry, so you can turn Majestic back on without having to have all this equipment.
The music game sort of fake instrument market's dead, but we think it's going to come back with fake plastic fax machines.
Like also, we're just gonna give you a Rock Band drum kit and a guitar, which you will on which you will receive phone calls. They had these laying around. I mean, I'm sure EA has just a bunch of Rock Band shit in a warehouse somewhere that they never moved. So why not figure out?
Yeah, why not turn it into a fax machine? Good point.
Hope you're listening, EA.
This is exactly what that reader meant when she was talking about our insightful game development.
Why can't they turn a phone into a fax machine? I mean, a guitar. I don't even know. I don't even know what these things
turn
are.
them all into fax
Does a
machines?
bird come out of an egg?
All right. Nick Harlan writes in, "Hey Thumbs, I've been really enjoying the RimWorld streams on YouTube. I know Chris has been rather disturbed by some of the morbid uses of dead bodies in the game, and rightfully so. On that note, I was listening to NPR, and they made mention of a rather coincidentally relevant news article I thought I'd share. A scientist and designer is looking to grow human skin in a lab with the express intent of making human leather for articles of clothing. Ooh. Apparently the leather is nicer feeling and better fitting than regular bovine leather. So I guess you won't have to travel to the edges of space to get your morbid clothing goods for much longer. Keep blasting those pods you guys rock." That's terrible. I guess. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's subjectively terrible.
Yeah.
It's...
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
I don't even know what to say about it.
I mean, it's not as bad as real human leather. I guess that's not a high bar.
Well, also, at what point can you not test whether it's real or fake? And then the real starts getting slipped into the fake supply.
God, there's a picture of it, and it's just creepy to see.
Oh, my God.
It wouldn't be creepy to see if I didn't know it was human leather, but since I do, it makes it impossible for it to not be creepy.
This is how the machines dispose of the bodies
all
in
of
the future.
all of the worst, like when you get into like the deep creepy cyberpunk, this sort of shit is what it is, and
Yep.
now
Yeah.
it's life.
It's happening. They're making meat
He's
in
got
a jar.
like a shoulder bag.
Made from shoulders.
That's what I meant. This is very gross. Oh, There's one with a tattoo on it. Gross.
My RimWorld settlers would probably wear that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
They'd probably be into it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can just do that in the game. I mean, you can butcher a human the same way you can butcher any other corpse.
Yeah.
And, I mean, yeah. I did that in my first game, and it was a big disaster.
So this will be helpful when we go to Mars and colonize,
Yeah.
clearly.
Okay. What else do we have here? One more email?
Sure.
Okay, so Michael de Selencourt writes, "Dear Idle Thumbs, hearing you enjoy the programmatic Batman, I hope you will enjoy Poetweet." Have you guys seen this ever? I have not seen this ever. I just went to this website, which is Poetweet, Poetweet, poetweet.com.br. So I guess it's a Brazilian website. You put in a Twitter username, and then you choose one of 3 poem types, and it will spit out a poem in that form, based on the corpus, that is the combined tweet history of that account. So I generated one for each of us.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to read these sonnets now.
Not Donald Trump.
Oh, I could do that. I'll do that after. So here's mine. The poem is named I Guess. I Guess by Chris Remo. Prez to appear without farm team, tone which is less ambiguous. Jam than doing a Wizard Jam stream, our own jokes, it's ridiculous. Accurate in this respect, nobody is our savior. Game in 6 years to have this effect, Tower of Terror Hotel Interior. But I think he can pull it together. Yes, but the break there is unreal. Bros and they love each other. Who lives in America? Clutch move. What the fuck is this shit? Must say it is a pretty boss groove. So that's I Guess by me. Here's Pretty Sure by Jake Rodkin. And Mixed Up in Bad Situations. Go to and it's very nice. Rooms used for different reasons. Racism, discrimination, prejudice.
Okay.
Wow.
I had to force the rhyme.
Okay.
Yeah.
Done by, and it is a good one. Whoa, that bold font, pro move. Home-built PCs, really nicely done. Linked it on Twitter and approve. Of Smart Things, I loved that game. That was overriding it for users. Same. This is the content we need. And I tweet discreetly, my lord. Accurate, based at least on my feed. And now Nick Breckon.
Please just read Trump's.
Well, you don't want Nick Breckon?
Oh, I mean, and claim it's Nick's. It's too late now.
Oh, I see. Or Communal by Nick Breckon. That was fast. Basically describes my NGS curve. Always a blast. He's the candidate we deserve. Dubs, I have to repost this classic. Yeah, talking purely mainstream. For the MGS5 helicopter music, but I am Nick Breckon on Steam. Couldn't get them all in the shot. Messages have become useless. Man, good posts in that screenshot. Oh, that's cool, and stuff so I need a faster line. Entire weekend as a PR tool? Question mark?
Wow.
Yeah.
Quite the ending.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I can make a Donald Trump up in here. This is a very good website. What is this stupid thing? Real Donald J. Trump?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Or is it real Donald Trump? How is that?
One of them is that parody account. You can't fall into that trap. You're not sure at which.
Tronk
ever, really.
official? Is that what it is?
All right. Here is the. Oh, whoops.
Oh, you're looking for real Donald Trump?
Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Yes, there is no real Donald J. Trump. That is shocking. How is there not that?
It's probably suspended.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to make another sonnet here. Tracking the data of your inspiration is the okay, here we go. Oh man, already perfect. Bernie Caved by Donald J. Trump. Job application, and Pennsylvania is not qualified, is going in the wrong direction. Yesterday was on saying times lied. They don't want them heard. Very little, close in polls. Native American to get in Harvard. Party, he's made many bad calls. Job proud of you, America first. The history of the United States. Never let you down, America first. His legacy his legacy will never be the same. Melania Place looks beautiful. I would never mock disabled. Shame.
Was there an exclamation point at the end there?
Oh yeah, there's exclamation points on most of these lines.
That's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a good site.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, thanks for joining us here on Idle Thumbs, a podcast ostensibly about video games. I guess primarily about video games this week. We are on Twitter at Idle Thumbs and these other Twitter accounts that post bullshit apparently. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/idlethumbs. I have been streaming frequently on Twitch at twitch.tv/idlethumbs, and all of those videos go up on our YouTube account, which is youtube.com/idlevideos. Nick, are you going to get back into streaming anytime soon?
Sure.
Yeah, got to do it. And you can send us email at questions@idlethumbs.net. We do have that store at store.idlethumbs.net that we mentioned. We will be getting Coldblums back in stock. We do have the original t-shirt back in stock, The Wizard logo t-shirt is in stock. We've got a few albums left and art prints by Graham Annable, the Shitty Wizard. There's stuff on there. Coldblum's coming back soon.
Those Shitty Wizards are really good if you have not ever looked at them. Just go to the webpage to gaze upon them if you don't, even if you don't buy them.
Yes, they're very nice. They're a nice little four print set.
I believe we referred to it as a quadriptych, which is hilarious to me.
I think a tetraptych.
Oh, a tetraptych.
Yeah.
Oh, even worse, but better.
Well, that's that.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us. Back next week.
Goodbye.
Wait, Nick's giving me another. Oh, this is an Idle Thumbs sonnet. Is that
I think just to close.
Mean Hitman TM by Idle Thumbs.
TM.
Far Cry 2 can only be added once. It and submit again with the same name. Back in stock. Now is your chance. Them how to play this video game. Show will be out. Stay tuned. Dev of Fulbright. It's a good one. This has happened. CC, look what you've done. Too much for the hosts to manage. Saturday, we stream more Wizard. To our partners, it's just garbage. Video game and pop culture cast. Hacking and robot fear-mongering also awaits on this week's podcast. That's
really good.
Shockingly good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shockingly good.